Okay, we're live. So welcome everyone. This is Akhtar Khan from Reaching Excellence, and welcome to tonight's featured member interview. We've got Dave and Maura. Dave and Maura are they're members of the Reaching Excellence Academy. They're also mentees of mine as well. They've been doing some amazing stuff, and I recently had a conversation with Maura about one of the deals that she's doing that she's going to talk about tonight, and I thought it was a pretty amazing deal. So we want to share a little bit about how you've done that deal, what you guys have done, and one of the things I like is, in our community, one of the philosophies that we got, it's about doing the work. It's about doing the work, leveling up and reaching excellence. And, property and entrepreneurship isn't always easy. It can be hard work at times, and it takes sweat, and it takes the right kind of person. And you guys are definitely movers and shakers. You're out there grafting. And I've known you for I think coming up to a year now. We met last year, right? We met at a property meet over in Croydon, because that's where you guys are from, right? You're from that area?
Yeah. Sorry, Carshalton, Mitcham, around that way.
Yep. Perfect. So we met then. You guys came into the community, got to know about me and what we do. You joined our mastermind, so you're in that mastermind right now. But prior to that, you were doing some stuff and you're pretty active. So let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with what got you into property, how long you've been doing property, and perhaps what you were doing before this time now. Because I know, Dave, you've been a builder for a while, and Maura, you had a corporate job. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah. Well, I left school at 15, and I went off with my dad's friend, roofing, Boundary Roofing in Wallerton, actually, just up the road. And I spent 3 years there, solid. And then I wanted to do something else, so I got into a college and I went 2 years full time in a plastering course. Done that, come out, tried to get an apprenticeship. I must have written over 100 letters to building firms, but no joy. It was quite up there a few years before, but it dwindled out. The apprenticeships there was none about. So I went back to the roofing, and I used to get the odd weekend job, little private jobs here and there to keep my hand in. And then I spoke to my dad one day, and he said, "Well, why don't we just go out together?" And he was a roofer as well, so we combined the two, and we started doing building works and small stuff, and then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, extensions, and it was all word of mouth. It was good. Yeah. So that's where I stem from.
Absolutely. And with your experience now, you can actually do out the ground. You can build out the ground kind of thing. You can build new houses and that sort of thing, right?
Oh yeah, quite easy. Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
From scratch, it's easy. You can't go wrong. You know what you've got in front of you.
Absolutely.
We've got bigger and bigger as years have gone by. So then teamed up with Maura, and things have gone swimmingly. I haven't looked back.
Absolutely. So Maura, tell us a little bit about you and your background. And you guys are relatively new as a couple. You haven't been together for that long, have you? So just tell us a little bit about how you guys, Maura, talk about what you were doing beforehand, and then you guys getting together and how you kind of progressed, because it's quite an interesting story.
Okay. So for about 27 years, I've worked in social care, worked my way up as administrator, then a manager, and then I became a head of service, managing staff over in Hackney, and I'd worked in sort of Lambeth and Wandsworth as well over the years in children's social care. And then I moved over to doing consultancy work, so I worked in Sutton and in Hackney again, building up IT systems and doing stuff like that. But I think I was getting to the point there was nowhere else I could go because I was like a head of service, and I was getting bored, I suppose, and I wanted to do something different. And I had always wanted to do sort of property development. Me and Dave got together just under 3 years ago. Yeah. And what actually happened there was we were about 2 months into our relationship, and I had said to Dave, I always wanted to do property development. And he said, well, what's stopping you? And I said, well, I don't know. And I had a buy-to-let, which I had down as a consent to let, and I had it for like 10 years, and I'd done nothing with it. So I hadn't remortgaged it or hadn't done anything, because every time I spoke to the bank, they kept saying, no, you've got to keep it the same. And what I realised now is they were just trying to get me to stay with them and not move it and do anything. So when I ended up looking at it, I had well over 100 grand equity in the property. So I was able to pull out about 120 grand. And that's kind of when we started then. So, and that's how we started the business. So I was able to pull the money out of my buy-to-let that I already had, and then we sort of progressed from there.
It spiraled, yeah.
And it's just run away since we started. But again, I don't think I would have done it if Dave hadn't said sort of, well, what's stopping you? Because there was no reason why I hadn't done it for the 10 years before. So but it was that
great coaching question.
Well, yeah, but what is stopping you?
Yeah, absolutely. So great. So thanks for that background story for you. So tell us how you progressed from that point onwards. So you guys got together a couple of months in. Dave says to you, what's stopping you? You draw down some money from the equity you've got in your buy to let. Tell us what happens next. Like what was the next steps? What happened after that?
So that was about April, and July. Then there was a property that came to auction. And I'd put in for it, but I didn't bid for it, even though I had the money sitting in the bank and everything else. And then I got an email the next day saying it didn't sell. Were we interested? So I told Dave about it, and then we went and had a look. Now, this was in Addiscombe in Croydon. It was a 1-bedroom flat. It had a short lease. It needed everything doing to it. I was knocking on the walls going, I think the walls are going to fall in, but Dave was telling me no, it was fine. And he just said, look, I think you should really go for it. I think it's going to be a good deal. So we did. And I thought it was that now or never. If I don't do it, I'll never do it. So he kind of gave me the push I needed, and we had to get up to Savills up London. And put in our bid. We did it on the phone. They said whoever gets here first can have the property. So we got a tube up there, and I signed it away with my new business account, and that's how it kind of started. So that was the first project. It took about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Took 6 to 8 weeks. It had a short lease, and what I actually did was I bridged the property because I had so much equity. They reduced the amount they were giving me on the bridge because they knew what I had. So we just literally had enough to sort out the property, do the refurbishment, which was everything, wasn't it? We did plastering.
We made the kitchen diner front room sort of thing. We knocked the wall out. New bathroom. Really
knocked out chimney.
Yeah, we took chimneys out. Just we made use of all the space that was there,
And sorry. And then what happened was I wrote to the freeholder saying basically we're your new leaseholders for the property. And this is what we'd like to do. So before we did any work, I'd like to do the kitchen, this, that, and the other. You're more than welcome to come in and have a look. And he actually rang us. I think he rang you first.
Me.
Yeah. So he rang Dave, and we arranged to meet up. And then he kept looking at what we were up to and seeing what we were doing. And then obviously I needed to negotiate the lease extension. So we met a few times, didn't we? And we just did like an informal. So I had got a Section 42, but the way the property had been sold, it probably wouldn't have been valid anyway. But I think we kind of got away with that with the leaseholder because we just did an informal. So we extended the lease, which cost us about 20 grand.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we did the work in about 6 to 8 weeks. And then we started the refinance.
If we hadn't have... That email that Morris sent really, he said all the years that I've had flats and been a leaseholder, freeholder, whatever, he said you're the first person to ever email and introduce themselves, and
say what we wanted to do.
What we wanted to do.
And that he was welcome to come and have a look.
Yeah, we went through everything with him, and he just said, yeah, you do that. It was done the right way.
Yeah, it's good relationship building. Just to have that that connection with the freeholder, and it was great that he was he was able to come over and like pick up the phone and get in touch with you and build that relationship with you. But it sounds like it made that whole process of extending the lease a lot easier.
Hell of a lot easier.
Yeah,
just being upfront and honest.
Because we had the bridge for about 6 months.
Yeah.
It was set up for a year, but we wanted to turn it around within sort of 6 months. But and we did it, and then it was revalued. What was it revalued at?
230.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give us some numbers on that. So what did you purchase it for? What did you spend on it, and what was the end value?
So we purchased it for 140. We spent about 15 grand on it, and 20 grand for the lease extension. I suppose we spent about 10 grand with our stamp duty and fees and stuff for the solicitors, and that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice profit. So that was your first one. This was the flat, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us what you did after that, yeah. Because do you have some pictures or some slides, don't you? Do you have some pictures and slides?
I haven't got that deal. I didn't bring it on. That's
okay,
fine.
don't worry. We'll drop it. Yep.
We can drop them in after.
Yep.
So then what happened on that one? We rented it out. So we were a bit green, I suppose, because we just got a letting agent in, and they had it. So we worked till 4 o'clock in the morning, didn't we? And we had it rented out the next day. So they had so many people to come in and view it. And we've still got the same tenants in there. So that's fine. We then pulled out all the money, and we thought, right, we'll start again. And Dave kept on to me about HMOs.
Yes, I did.
Which I never wanted to do because I was too scared.
She won't say that now.
But he kept on and on at me to come on, HMOs are the way to go. And I had found a derelict property again in Croydon.
In Addiscombe.
Yeah, in Addiscombe again. And it had been up for sale, down for sale, up for sale. And I had seen it so many times. So we managed to get that in for 290.
Yeah.
So this was
It basically wouldn't be mortgageable.
No.
It was a 3-bedroom inside a bed at the front room. Ended up gin, but this gin we with my house. So the house that I have is mortgage free, so it's in Cumberson. So I use that as leverage to purchase the second property, which was the 3-bedroom house. That we had to bring back to brick and do everything, which horrified me.
Yeah, that was a totally different ball game from Mora.
Yeah.
Stressful, but
yeah,
it played in the end. It was
stressful for him because I think he thought he was going to kill me.
Oh no, I wanted to, but you've just. It's a big step from a 1-bedroom flat into a 4-bedroom ensuite HMO when you've spent $15,000 doing a flat up, and then you're having to fork out over $100,000 to get this dilapidated property. There's a lot of worry, but we got through it in the end. It was hard. It was hard. But worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done a fair few back to brick projects myself. They're heavy projects. They are a lot of money, a lot of things that can cause delays. And of course, when you go back to brick, you're always going to discover things and nasties and whatever. And, it's a big project. So it's quite a jump. So you've gone from refurbishing a small flat to doing this was a 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 bed that you converted it to?
So 2 into a 4-bedroom ensuite.
It was classed as a 3 because the 1 bedroom was inside another bedroom. So it was like
yeah, but it was never a 3-bedroom.
Yeah. So what we did was we converted it into a 4-bed, but all en suites. We did a loft extension and under duress because I never wanted to do the back extension, but Dave pushed me into it.
It had to be done.
He said he felt it had to be done. Even though I didn't want it because I was going, we're not going to earn any value on this square space you're putting in, but it did add to everything in the end. Yeah. So we had a few dramas along the way because we had issues with an architect. We had issues afterwards, halfway through, with neighbours and all sorts of things. But we did get through it. How long did that take? It took about 8 months.
Yeah.
So that took 7 to 8 months from start to finish.
There was a loft conversion put in it as well. So yeah, there was it was a complete and utter gut. We gutted the place. Everything was brand new. You couldn't do nothing else with it but do that. So, but no, it went well. It went well.
Great. So talk me through the numbers on this deal, because this is the one that's got quite sexy cash flows. Am I right?
No, this.
Oh, we haven't got to that one yet. Okay, so this is the step in between. Okay, we're going to get to that one.
Yeah.
So talk us through the numbers on this particular deal.
Okay, so for this one, we bought it for 290. We spent about 140 doing it back from brick and doing everything we did. Again, we spent sort of about 20 on legals and stamp duty, etc. And when we refinanced it, it came out at 540. Was when we refinanced it, and then we rented it. We spoke to a provider, and they took over the whole property for 2,850 a month. And they pay all the bills, everything else, and all we do is pay the mortgage and the insurance on the property.
Great. So tell us what your so first of all, for people who don't know what a provider is, can you explain what a provider is? Because they're not your ordinary tenants that you've got in there. So if you just explain that, that's something that's kind of a bit of your speciality, right?
It's starting to be. So what happened was I went to a couple of property meets and I got talking to different sort of investors and wanted to find out, and I spoke to like ex-colleagues about leaving care and all sorts of things, and they all just said you must be mad, and they said why don't you look at older groups, etc. So I managed to find a service provider who sort of they only cater for men, don't they, funny enough. And what they do is they provide a supported housing, so they provide support whether it's an hour a week or 3 hours. So it could be people with learning disabilities or mental health issues or ex-prisoners or all different sort of reasons, or terminal ill or whatever. Or they've just fell down on their luck and they got nowhere else. Or we've had a few that have split up with partners and they had nowhere else.
It's mostly that. They're low to medium risk mental health.
Yeah.
But they're actually nice people.
So
absolutely,
they're lovely people in there.
So what happened was we got talking to the provider. They came in and looked. We'd actually spoke to some other people as well, but they came and looked.
They were the first ones to look, actually. So
yeah, before we'd even finished. Yeah. So and they said they wanted to see what we'd done. And they were like, yeah, we'll sign up. Can you sign up for so long? And obviously it was my first one. So I said, no, we'll sign up. We'll do like a management lease. And we did it for 2 years initially. And the place, obviously, because it was a better standard than a lot of HMOs that anybody else I've seen with supported housing in. But what supported housing does is they have support workers that go in there. They could be just signposting them on to services, or it could be that they spend so much time with them, I don't know, taking them shopping or what social skills sort of thing. So there's different levels, but the people that we have are very low risk people. You can have others that are at higher risk and stuff, but then there's a lot more things to do in your HMO. So that's it. And when we first did it, because of the ground floor extension, I put a couch in there. And I said to the provider, like putting a couch, they said, no, don't bother. Nobody ever mixes. And 6 months later, they rang me up and they said, Maura, we've put a TV in there. They're all mixing. They're all getting on well. And now we're over 2.5 years later. So 2.5 years later, we're being told now, well, you've gone in, and it's like we left it brand new. It's still the exact same way that we've left it. They all look after it. So we've provided them a nice home, and they're treating it like a nice home.
So we've been very lucky so far.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So look, I really like the fact that you've gone down this different angle. You found a provider that provides supported living for people.
Yeah.
Look, there was a time when I had my first agency. I used to do a lot of supported living and LHA stuff. We used to have lots of referrals from the council, and it's great that you can provide good quality homes for people who really need it. And also, if these people are low to medium risk and the property is like how you left it 2.5 years ago, how you gave it to them, then that's even better. So you've got the best of all worlds. You're helping people, which is wonderful. Your property's in good condition and you're making good money from it. So tell us about the figures. What's your next sort of profit on this particular site per month?
So we earn, we get rental wise 2,850. Our mortgage is 1,100, and we say the insurance is £800 per year, so about 50 quid say a month roughly. So we take about just under 1,700 a month on that one.
So this is £1,700 a month from this one here. The beauty of this is you don't have to deal with the tenants, right?
Yeah.
You're not dealing with like lots of tenants, so you've got someone else that's just dealing with this for you, which is really good. So that's lovely, like £1,700 a month profit. Okay, so this is really, really cool because you've got another deal that you've done that makes even more money than this, right? So let's talk about that deal there.
So what happened then? I kind of thought, actually, I can show the next ones. I've got them on my.
Okay.
Shall I share?
Yeah, go for it, share, and hopefully this will work.
Is it working?
Haven't seen it yet, so it'll come up on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, hang on.
I should have a share screen tab somewhere.
Yeah, I've got it now. Oh.
That's it. Let's do. Right. Okay, I think we can.
Hang on 1 second. Sorry.
That's all right.
Right, so here we are. So this project, if I just explain it and talk through. So the first one, what I decided, if I could use my property to bridge one property, and at the time I worked it out, it was like they were only securing sort of 40 to 50,000 against my property. So I was like, well, hang on a minute. If I can do one property, why can't I do two at the same time? Because of the amount of equity that I have, or because my property is in Cumberston, I should be able to go and do more at once, if that makes sense. So what I did then, we found this 1-bedroom flat, which is Izzard Court. And as you can see, it's kind of a mess. I don't know, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's got some nice tiles and a very dated, looks like an 80s kitchen in there.
Yeah, it was lovely, wasn't it, Dave? The food and everything left in. The old chap had gone to an old people's home. And we purchased that for 156. And what we also did was this property, which Dave fell in love with and could vision exactly what he could see, didn't you?
Yeah.
We kind of made, it was quite nice because we kind of got to know the vendor.
She was a lovely lady.
She'd lost heart with it. She'd split up with her partner, her husband. It was quite a messy sort of situation. And she was there on her own, and she just had lost heart and she couldn't cope with it anymore. So anyway, we got talking to her, and anyway, we put in an offer. It had been up originally for about 420, and the buyers fell out, and we put an offer in, and we got it for 363. Is what we paid for it. And then what we also did was bridged against my house, which is here, which was in Cumberston. So when they did it, they valued it at just under 400. So that was what we used to leverage against all the properties. So we actually didn't have to put any money in to buy the properties, if that makes sense. Yeah,
absolutely.
So that was kind of what we did.
I said to Maura, please, whatever you do, make sure you get Tanfield Road. So I don't care what you have to do, get it.
So that's what we did. And we ended up from the first property, we had about 30, 40 grand, I think, out of the Moreland Road, the last property. So obviously we started again. As I said, that's the figures for the bridging. I don't know if you need to see that. So,
it's a little bit small print, but it's okay. You can run us through that, but we'll just go for high level figures for now. It'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then what happened was, so really what happened then was we got a bridge to cover the three, sort of against the three properties. So my house was the leverage. We did within the first sort of 4 or 5 weeks. Well, before we'd even started, we put in for planning for a loft before we purchased the house. And we managed to get 2 rooms in the loft. So we made it a 5-bedroom. We talked to the HMO officer, and then we got slammed because we were trying to buy it in sort of October, November time. And then we got slammed with Article 4's coming in January. You need to have it rented out and people in there, etc., by January. Otherwise, it won't be classed as a HMO. So we had a total nightmare with that. So we managed to get 3 rooms up ready. The kitchen's done, the 2 bathrooms done, because this house has 2 communal bathrooms and 5 rooms. And then what we did was we then focused back on the flat after we'd sort of done the rooms and had them rented out. So then what happened was we managed to do that. We got past the issue of Article 4, and then we went back once we'd finished the flat, got that rented out. We then went back and carried on doing the loft at the other property. So if I just show you the 1-bedroom flat.
Go for it. If you show us, let's see what's happened here.
Okay, so this is like the 1-bedroom flat. So we bought it for 156. We spent about 10 grand on the refurbishments. I think we spent probably about 10 grand on legals and everything else. And then we got it revalued on the day of lockdown. So we had it revalued at the day of lockdown, and we got it for 235. So that was quite a nice uplift. But what we'd hoped for, again, we did a full refurbish, new windows, gas central heating, new fuse board, replastered, new bathroom, new kitchen, everything. So I think it took 6 to 8 weeks, and then we had it let out. But what we did then is, again, we spoke to the provider, because they said that the council were now not looking for large HMOs. They wanted small places. And because this had like a kitchen and we put a kitchen breakfast bar in, we could actually have this, instead of a 1-bedroom flat, we could have it as a mini-mo, where you could have 2 separate people sharing the property. So instead of bringing in like £900 a month, which is what you would, or £950 for a 1-bedroom flat, we were then able to get the rental of £1,300.
Wow!
So that was the first. That was the first one. So we call it a mini-mo.
Nice.
But it's quite nice because you've only got 2 people. You know, they can mix in the kitchen and they've got their own space. And you haven't got that many more. You won't have that many issues because you're only dealing with 2 people and not a whole house full. So that was that one. And then we went back and carried on with Tamfield, which I don't know. Did I show you? Yeah, I did show you what it looked like before. So again, this was a 3-bedroom, and it turned into a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom, all communal. And we were going to do more en suites and different things, but because the council said that we had to have it up and running by January and rented out, we needed to make sure that the bathrooms and everything were there. So what we did was, instead of knocking walls and moving things around and making en suites, we just had 2 communal bathrooms, 1 shower, 1 bathroom on the middle floor. And because there was like 5 rooms, we were, that was more than enough, because apparently we only needed to have 1 bathroom, but you give people a bit more. So with that, again, we put in a new kitchen, did everything, and then that was the refurbishment was about 85. Again, we did a loft extension. The garden, we didn't actually know how long it went back, did we? Or how nice it was, because you couldn't see. It was a total jungle, and we cut it all back and we sort of shingled it so it's low maintenance. And then that got revalued in August for 600,000. And then what happened was, again, we spoke to the provider. Well, the provider, before we even bought this, told us that they wanted it because they knew the kind of things that we were doing. So again, they took it off us, and we've kind of come to an agreement that if it's a ensuite, they'll give us £700 a month. If it's a just a room, then it's £650. So we can kind of work out what our money's going to be sort of before we even finish. But they sort of saying, when's the next one? When's the next one? So that's kind of that. Shall I come out of this for a minute?
You can do. The slides have disappeared off the screen, so I'm not sure if that's a tech issue, but I can't see it at the minute. So do you have any more slides you want to share?
No, that's probably it, I suppose.
Good.
Oh, so unless you want to see me doing some work in lockdown.
As you can see, Maura does all the work.
So during lockdown, Dave did nothing, and I did some roofing, installating, plasterboarding. We kind of learned how to do everything. But yeah, so kind of what happened then, if I come back out, so what happened then was we rented it again to the provider. The broker we used she's very reserved, and she sort of didn't think we'd get that kind of figure. So we ended up having to leave like 30,000 into the deal. So instead of like being able to have the 30,000 to move on to the next one, we ended up having to put £5,000 so that we could finish the bridges off. So with the provider, what he gives us is like 2 months up front, and he also gives us a deposit. So we ended up with like 3 months payment straight away from both the projects. So that kind of helped us then to pay the £5,000 that we had to do for the bridging, to clear the bridging. So if I give you some figures, we had to pay the bridges back. So with regards to Izzard, we borrowed for the 156. We were hoping that we would pay them that, and then they'd allow us to keep the 20 to go on to do Tamfield. But because of lockdown and everything, because they kind of said they'd allow us, they just went, no, we want all the money that you get. So with Izzard, we got 176,000 back. So that went straight to them, which meant that we had equity of about 59,000 in the property, in the flat. And with Tamfield, again, we were hoping that we could leave like 150 equity in it, but we ended up leaving 180. So from the 2 properties, we've now got like 239,000 equity from the 2 deals. And again, the rental and the cash flow in total for the 2 properties, because we've done it with the service providers, we now got 2,644 is our cash flow from the 2 deals.
Nice.
Tamfield, the house, it was 1,850. So that's where you got the 1,850 from. And from the other property, we where is it? It's about £800 a month cash flow. So with the 2, that's what our cash flow is, 2,644 a month.
Okay, so what is it in total? So we're talking about 4 properties here, is that right?
Yep. So in total, we bring in about £8,000, and we pay out about £3,000 in total to the to mortgages and everything.
So you're making about 5k a month, yeah, from 4 properties.
And that's took 2 years of hard work.
two painful years of hard work.
And we haven't killed each other yet.
And look, this is great. So you've done 4 deals, and these are some big projects that you've done. You know, gutting out houses, going back to brick.
I think what I was going to say is we didn't take out any development loans, so we just used the money that we had. So you know, when we were doing the last house, I had took voluntary redundancy, and I got a little lump that I was able to put into it. Dave put money into it, and we just threw everything at it because we didn't want to have more finance. So maybe it's a slow way of doing it, but we just thought, let's just do it, and we know that we're going to be okay because we know we've only got to pay a certain amount back, not too much. And I think that was probably being really cautious doing it. but we also had good trades that you knew that allowed us sort of when we refinance to pay them for the electric or to pay them for some of the work. So I think we worked on a lot of your goodwill to get some of it paid afterwards.
Yeah. That worked for me for a lot of years. So they knew what we was doing, and I'd say, look, listen, could you wait 2 months for your money? It's not a problem. They all done their bit, and they all helped. You know.
That's great. That's wonderful. So look, it doesn't matter how long it takes you. At the end of the day, like, success in property and business is a journey. Like, you're always going to be doing stuff, and there's no race. At the end of the day, you're going to get there. So it's taken you a couple of years. You've got these 4 properties. You've got over 240 grand in equity. You're netting about 5k a month.
We've got more. That's just on the last 2.
On the 2, yeah. Okay. So what have you got in total in equity in those properties?
I think we're looking at it's about 480 in total.
480.
So you got 480, nearly £500,000 in equity. Okay. You got 5k a month coming in. That's not bad going. I mean, look, this is really good. So look, let's talk about a couple of things, which I think is going to be really useful, because what you've done here is you've leveraged your own house. You've taken some risks. They're all calculated risks. You know, Dave, you've got the building experience. Maura, you've got project management experience, and you've both got the kind of the comfort, if you like, and the foresight and the vision to keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, property is hard work. Sometimes, like, some deals can be super easy. They can be quick and easy, and you go, wow. And then other deals can be a bit more complicated and a bit more of a headache and hard work. It is what it is, but anything that's worth having is going to take effort. Okay, so let's talk about your bigger vision here, because one of the things that we've done as you've come into the Coda Reaching Excellence Mastermind is we've done like a lot of vision and mindset work around what you're doing and why you're doing it for. So if you're happy to share, like, why do you do this? What's your bigger vision? Where do you want to be at the end of this? Because I think this is the thing that's been driving you through what has been 2 years of hard work, and I think it's really important that people understand why. And I always say to people, look, if you don't have a big enough reason why, then you're going to have a big enough excuse not to do things. So why don't you share a little bit about that as to what's driven you and what your end goal is?
Well, you can go first this time.
Okay, so I think part of the reason was I was really tired at work, and I think I was getting to the point I knew there was something going on sort of with my health. So I couldn't cope with all the travelling of 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and doing everything I was doing. Yes, I could work from home, but I just find I was tired and I couldn't move on and I couldn't get anywhere, and I was bored. So I wanted to do something different. So that was the main reason it was pushing me to get on. Also, I've got an elderly mum at home with me who likes her coffees, as everyone knows. She likes her coffees brought to her. So it was nice to sort of be around there, and I've got my daughter as well. So it's just being able to help them out, you know, and have the ability to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And I think that's our future vision. At the moment, it feels like we've both got really full-time, full-on jobs because of the stuff we're doing. But I think in time, we'll be able to relax a little bit more as well.
That's the part I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Dave, what's your sort of vision? What's your reasons why for doing this? What kind of gets you out of bed in the morning?
I love work. I know people must think I'm mad, but I love getting up and getting out, and I just love grafting. And when you're doing it for yourself, and you know that you're going to have something at the end of it, it makes it twice as fun, you know. Yeah, I could shut that door and say, yeah, there's another one done. There's another one. It's mine and Maura's. Let's move on to the next one. Because when I'm old and grey, I do want to, hopefully I'll retire before that. But it's not to have the worry of a Monday morning, oh, I've got to eat this week. I've got to pay a bill this week. I just want to be,
And I think you lived like that a lot.
Oh yeah, I lived hand to mouth every week. You know, Monday morning I'm thinking, bloody hell, I've got to find 400 quid this week. I've not even got no work on a Monday morning. I'm not in that situation no more, and it's nice. It's nice. It's nice. Yeah. And also, the kids, I'll help it. I don't tell the kids everything what I'm doing. They see what we're doing, but they get told very little because I've had to work for it, and so are they. but I will help them out as much as I can.
Absolutely.
You know?
So that's great. So, you know, part of your reason was to quit your job, Maura. Obviously, it was tiring. You're commuting from Surrey into London, you know, 2 hours a day. Like each way, it's half the day gone, and of course, being bored, then it's, you know, when it starts to have implications on your health, it's not a good thing. So this is around you getting out of the job, getting out, selling your time for money. Yes, you're working hard as a couple at the moment to build your portfolio, but you've got an end goal, which is, you know, retirement. You know, I know we've spoke about perhaps you having a home in Ireland or somewhere like that, or country home, and you want to do stuff. You've got young adult kids as well, so you want to help them out. And really, it's about having life on your terms, having the comfort, the peace of mind. You know, one of the things I say to people is, look, you know, if you've got financial freedom but without emotional freedom, you're still a poor person, you know. So, you know, having the financial freedom but then not having the stresses, not having all those challenges is really important. So this is kind of what you guys are aiming for. And moving
along the way, we sort of set mini goals along the way. So we've always said we wanted like a little holiday getaway here, and we achieved that sort of a couple of months ago. We bought somewhere. It needs a bit of work, but we got Dave, so you can do that. That's fine. What holiday, Dave? But yeah, so we've got that sort of now, and going forward, we you know, I've got family in Ireland, and my auntie's offered, you know, a plot of land so we can build there.
Ireland's the next one.
So yeah,
that once we've sorted out a little getaway, like a little weekend retreat, as you call it, Costa del lays down, whatever you want to call it. But Ireland is the next one in the book. That's the one. That's the one to tick off next.
Yeah.
Great. So you got
a dream, you know. So I'm going to deliver it.
And you guys will do that. So you've got your little your weekend getaway that's down the road here in Kent, which is, you know, your Costa del lays down. Your next plan is going to be to get, you know, I guess when you get to the right time to go and build out in Ireland with your family. Let's talk about this deal that we've been talking about recently. So you've got a bigger deal on the table. You're currently processing this deal. You're kind of progressing it. You haven't got it across the line yet because it's early days. So let's not mention where it is, but let's talk about what it is and just talk us through that deal, because you've gone from a flat to you know, a HMO, another big HMO, back to brick, and you've got this other mini mo. Now you're going to quite a big project. So talk us through this project, what it is, how you found it, and what you kind of see in it, and also what the end numbers are going to be on this, because it's quite an exciting deal.
You found it. Come on.
So what happened was, I always check out certain areas and stuff, and what we've said is, we have said that we want to do some developments of our own, so that we can get a reputation of doing our own developments, as it were, big projects. But everywhere we've looked sort of in London, and we did have one before, it was going to be in Mitcham that we were going to do, but just the numbers didn't stack up.
Lucky enough, we got away from that.
Yeah, so we pulled out, and actually someone else bought it, and they've still not done anything sort of 2.5 years ago. So we were quite lucky that we didn't do anything, because that probably would have killed us. But yeah, so we've sort of said in the last sort of month, let's look further afield. So we found somewhere that's in Kent. As I trawl sort of the internet and looking for different things, and I came up across a club which was just on a piece of land that's been closed down for 3 years, and it's been empty. It went up. It looks like it's gone up in price, down in price, up in price, but you know, there's not been any sort of interest on it at the moment. So we went and had a look last Friday. It also is being sold with planning permission, so it's up for 379. Yeah. 375 or so. Yeah. It's got planning permission for 9 flats. So we were kind of looking at, well, what can we do now? Can we do 9 flats? Could we make it work? I haven't got the exact numbers in front of me, but I think we're looking at, what was the build out and everything else? It was going to cost 375 to buy, about 400, I think it was. To build out, and it was going to be 1 point something.
1.1, wasn't it?
No, a bit more. I think.
Is it?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
1.3.
1.3. If we did the 9. So I was working it out, and it would just probably make about 15%. But then what happened was I spoke to yourself, and you said to me to have a look round for grants and things. So for that particular borough or council, you can get up to 25,000 per flat, sort of a loan, which would be for 3 years. And I had a chat with them, and they agreed, and they've got the funding for the foreseeable future. And they said someone had spoke to them in the past about 6-7 months ago, and they hadn't heard any more since. Now, the plot that it's on also had 2 houses at the side, and it was sold all in auction for 530. But what it looks like they've done is they've split the plot with the 2 houses. They've kept the 2 houses, and they're now just trying to sell off the plot of the club. And they managed to get the planning on top of that. So what I've done this week, I've been reading the local plan to find out about what they want, and they want things like 3-bedroom houses and flats in the area. They're doing huge regeneration around the area, and they're saying that they want like 1,100 and something houses in and around that area where we're looking at this building. So we went last week and had a look at the building. You can talk us through the building bit. What do you think?
I've got a totally different look on it from what Maura has. I think personally, we could get another floor in it. I think because the ceilings are so high, we could section it out. But
without making it any higher,
yeah,
you could actually put another floor in by lowering or moving the floors where they are.
Mezzanine floor or whatever. But the cost of that, I've got it in my head that it might be a better solution if we knock it down and build from scratch, sort of thing. I think you could work the flats out a lot better, and I think you could get a lot more from starting from the ground up instead of trying to configure what is already there. Because don't get me wrong, it's a lovely, it's massive, but it just doesn't look right. And if people are going to come and buy stuff, it has to look right. That's my only concern. And there's water issues as well.
So I looked into that. There when we went, there was some water in the basement.
The basement's full.
That much water in the basement. So I looked into that.
That's from the top. That's from the top.
So I looked into that, and I spoke to the auctioneers, and they're meant to be coming back to me. But again, I did a lot of reading, and it is on marshland.
Yeah.
So and then I was reading that you can buy pumps, you can do stuff that, to help the buildings, etc., etc. So we're just looking at, is it a viable project? Is it not? And plus, the land at the side, they're kind of trying to sell it as it's all in. But I actually know from looking at from the land registry that it's not included. Now I've managed to track down partly who owns the land, and they've owned it since 2004. But it leads me to an address in Kent, in Erith. But the 2 partners that are meant to own it, it looks like just their wives live in the property now. But that's the stage I'm at now. So again, I'm just doing the investigating and trying to find out about the land at the side, and trying to find out about the person that owns the land that's been up for sale. So it's just investigation sort of at the moment.
The land next door, it needs it to work, I think.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I found out today, sort of looking at deeper into stuff. But if we were able to keep it as it is, even though Dave doesn't like that, but keep it as it is and move the floors around, we could probably get another 3 to 4 flats in the property, and with the reconfiguring. So.
But I'm looking at the cost of putting the other floor in and the cost of knocking it. Which is a viable option,
Yeah, absolutely. It's working it all out, and it's going through that whole process. And of course, this is a larger project. It's not like it's a single dwelling. There's a lot of factors here. You've got the build cost. You've got the issues with the water in the basement. You've got the land next door. But if this all comes off, and again, it really could do, if you can sort out any glitches or any challenges there, or you can overcome them, you could make this potential deal work. But the key thing is. Yeah, I think we ran the numbers on this. Like, it could be a very little money left in this deal, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And also one of the things, and I've previously done this before, is used local authority funding to refurbish properties. So many local authorities have got schemes. We know down here in sort of Kent and in London, they've got various schemes as well. So that can be the difference between having to fund a project all yourself or being able to get some funding for it, and especially if you're going to do stuff.
And that was the thing, when we did the first HMO, we could have got a grant because the house had been derelict. But I remember approaching them, and they were like, "Oh, you need to get this, you need to do this," and I kind of was scared to even do it, so I didn't. So I lost out on this 25 grand I could have got. And then I remember speaking to you, and you were like, "No, you could have just done X, Y, and Z," but I didn't know. And at that point, we didn't have anyone to...
No, we were green at the time.
We didn't have anyone to ask, because we were just doing it on our own, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, we've all been there. I've been there myself. When you don't know you don't know what you don't know, and you can't see what you can't see. And sometimes some of these things can be complicated. When you've got someone who can hold your hand, who knows what to do, it just simplifies the whole process. But at least you now know it. You know what you could have done. You know what you can do for next time. And obviously, if you get this deal across the line, you could potentially raise 25 grand for nine units, or even more if you can get more units out the site, which is going to be super cool. But what I really wanted to illustrate here is your progression. You've gone in a couple of years from doing a flat to doing some quite big, major refurbs when you put in loft conversions and stuff in, and now you've gone to that next level of doing and looking for development deals, which is super cool. I'm really excited about what you guys are doing. You've been doing some great stuff. You're hardworking, and on top of what you're doing in your own stuff, Dave, you're doing projects for other people, right? You're doing kind of loft extensions and building projects. You've got quite a big team around you, so you've got your hands full, both of you.
Oh, yeah, it's never a dull moment, as they say.
Which is really, really wonderful.
A lot for you, because you're taking now more on where you didn't have a website before. You just worked on word of mouth, but now you're looking at, from what we're learning is you do need to have a social media presence. People do need to trust you, and if you haven't got Facebook or Instagram or a website, people don't know who you are. And I think we've learnt that a lot this year, haven't we? More.
Oh, I've learnt my lesson. Yeah. She's beaten me into it, to be honest with you.
Good. Well, I'm glad. You guys are on the Quantum Leap Mastermind, which is our high level program. Which part of that is a lot of marketing. Predominantly, it's for sourcing property deals and stuff, but also it's about keeping yourself out there so you can find business. It's not just for properties, for any business. So I'm glad more has motivated you to do it, which is really great.
The thing is, we're also looking at different ways. I wouldn't have ever thought to look at planning websites to get all the information of who's had planning and write to them. And Dave's getting calls now because they've received letters. A year or two ago, we would never have even thought about that. So it's making us think, I suppose by the program as well, it's making us think bigger and outside the box more than what we would have done previously.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I was always stubborn. I always had my dad with me. So if there was a little idea there, no, son, we're all right as we are. He didn't want to go the extra step, but God bless him, he's not here no more. But but more is straight and narrow, sorted me out. I'm out in the big wide world now, and it's paid. It's paid.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think sometimes, and I think I shot a video on this a few days ago regarding, people have got the best intentions, but sometimes, we're creatures of comfort. We want to stay in our comfort zone. And to do property and to do business, it means taking risks, and it means getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that, you know, aren't easy. But, you know, the rewards and everything you want is just waiting for you on the other side of your comfort zone. So one of the things I just wanted to ask you guys, tell me a little bit about your sort of property education, because, like, you know, Dave, yes, you've got lots of building experience, but you've learned a lot of these property strategies as you've gone along. Obviously, you're working with me right now, and you're now Reaching Excellence Academy. What was you doing before, and what was your experiences?
Education, property education.
Property education, no.
No, we was on a mastermind before.
Oh, sorry.
But but on the other mastermind, it was kind of like you were promised everything, and I kept saying, if I can't negotiate and if I can't talk to people, we're never going to get a deal across. You can tell me that find the deal and all these investors will come in running.
We were told that from day one.
And it's kind of like we spent about 10 grand, I suppose, didn't we?
Yeah.
We spent about 10 grand, and okay, we had a nice time and everything else, but we did learn some things. We did learn how to price up land and how to do different bits and pieces like that. But we never progressed in the same way as we have now.
We never had that one-on-one like we do with you.
Yeah.
You know, you put yourself out. You are doing what you say. Dave was
once a month. We met up for a day.
Once a month, met up for a day. They was too busy worrying about how many push-ups he's doing in a day. Or no, it's true.
Okay. Okay, we better not reveal your mentor, your old mentors. But yeah, I get it. So
we were talking to other people there, like us, and we was just bouncing off each other. And to be honest with you, half the time we was like keeping the chair. But no, it's totally different with you. It's totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. So you didn't get what you wanted from your previous mentors, but
I didn't because the groups were too big, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So when we went in, we were told that originally it would only be like 12 people.
One-on-one.
We were going to get one-on-ones. We were going to do this. We were going to do, and none of it sort of materialised. So it got to a point. I think we were 3-4 months in, and I just went, no, I'm not doing. And I wrote this long letter saying, if you can't help me to negotiate, I'm not going to get anywhere. And that was my biggest. If I don't have the confidence to go out and talk to, you know, a vendor or an estate agent or anything, you can tell me everything in theory, but it's never going to get me to get the deal over the line or have the belief that I can.
And all the questions that Maura would ask, didn't have an answer to them. You know, you know what she's like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, like, you know, when it comes to doing stuff, you know, you can learn stuff at high level, but it's the small distinctions, you know. So find the deal and the money will come. Well, what if you know, how do you know you got a good deal? How do you know people want to invest in it? How do you know if people have got the credibility? There's so many finer distinctions that need to be met. And if you can't, and I've been there myself, you know, when I went out on a mastermind many years ago, I'd have a deal, but our mastermind meetings were like 2 months apart. And I'm like, I've got to try and stall this deal until I can speak to my mentor, because I couldn't pick up the phone, which is why obviously when you come into the academy or people come to our masterminds, I make it so that people can reach me and answer me questions, because you need that to get stuff across the line. When you're there and you got a situation, you can't wait, because the deal, you know, if you don't act quickly, you're going to lose the deal. So you have to have that bit of information so you can progress. So I get it. And so you did that particular course. Everything else that you've done, obviously you've done some stuff with me. Have you done any other sort of education at all, or just networking events and stuff?
Yeah. No, I do a lot of research and just attending pins and
recording pins,
network, just networking events in different places. Yeah. But what else have we done? That's it. And me, it's just reading. I've done a lot of reading, and I'm like a dog with a bone. Oh yeah,
if Maura finds something she likes the taste of, that's it. She's there, you know.
Yeah. So I just go. Well, I have to try and unpick it to understand it, you know. And I think I've upset solicitors and everything along the way when we've
upset everybody.
No, that's wrong, and I'll highlight their mistakes and send it back to them.
And I don't like that, you know. I don't like that.
No, they're not. They're not going to like it. Absolutely. So guys, listen, you've done really well. You know, you've worked hard for a couple of years. You know, you've got yourself a serious amount of equity. You've got a decent amount of cash flow coming in. You're progressing into developments. You've got a massive reason why you're doing this stuff. You know, personal reasons, family. You got your mum who wants her cuppers. You got adult kids. You got, you know, you've managed to get yourself on top of your portfolio. Your little holiday getaway in Kent. You know, you've got some great plans ahead. And, you know, one of the things I love about you guys is you're doers. You'll go out and do it. You're grafters. Dave, you said, you know, you like getting up and working. You're grafters. You know, irrespective of what happens with this project, I know you guys are going to be doing developments. I know, Dave, you've quoted for other developers to build out their development projects. So, you know, as a couple, there's a really great dynamic between you guys. You know, Dave, you've got the building experience. You know, Maura, you're going out and you're finding stuff and you're putting this stuff together, you're doing it and you're making it happen. So, you know, well done, you guys. You know, your work is paying off, and you know, there's I see for you guys, the best is yet to come. There's more for you guys to come, you know, and I'm just excited to look at your journey and see where you go. You know, we've known each other for almost a year. It's been great to see what you've done. You come into our community, obviously learned a lot of stuff from the mindset aspects as well as the property stuff. You guys have got everything you need to really skyrocket and succeed. And I think everyone around you is going to benefit. And I don't mean that just for yourselves, you know, the kind of people you are, your values, you're doing stuff for providers, for people who need supported living. This is win-win all round, which is just a really nice way to be. So, you know, sometimes I meet people who think property investors or property developers are these kind of greedy people that drive around in Bentleys and helicopters. You know, we're all everyday folk. You know, we're just trying to make a better life for ourselves.
My skip on wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, which is great. So, you know, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to come on this this featured member interview. Hopefully this is going to inspire some people as to what's possible, what you can do, and to keep an eye on you guys. So anyone who's watching this, if they want to contact you, how can they get in touch with you? What's your social media handles? What's your website? How can they get in touch with you guys?
Okay, I'm PM Renovations Limited. .co.uk, that's the website. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well. And Dave, you're on as Dave the Builder.
Dave the Builder.
.co.uk, that's his website. And DW Perkins Building and Roofing on Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. All right, guys, listen, thank you so much for being here. We're going to sign off. Thank you for everyone else who's watched the live stream. Thanks for bearing with us whilst we had a few tech issues. But listen, we're going to sign off today, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye all. Thank you.